What's next for Colorado under Deion Sanders? Because what he's done so far, there is no way to frame it as anything less than a success. But now a lot of people are going to be, I think, having expectations they didn't have before. And in the same way, people are going to ask some questions they didn't have before. We'll unpack that right now. But if you're a college football sicko, you're a Colorado fan, you're a Coach Prime fan, whoever you're a fan of, we're talking about the greatest sport on the face of planet Earth every single day. So with that being said, just make sure you're subscribed. You're watching a college football video in the month of February. You're a little bit of a junkie. You're right here along with us. So again, appreciate you being subscribed. Here's the thing for Colorado in 2025. The iron has never actually been hotter for them. And in the same way, I think the questions have never been greater. Because you come off a season now where you improved by 5 wins. When Deion Sanders inherited this whole situation, they had won 1 win. They jumped to 4, they jumped to 9. Nobody, at least on this side of things, saw that coming where they were to improve and almost win 10 games and control their own destiny in the month of November to go play for a Big 12 championship. On this show, we said, hey, we think they'll make a bowl game. That's awesome. That's a great next step. They said, we'll see your next step and we'll raise you the next couple of steps. So, as I just mentioned, you're not trying to imagine what Colorado can be under Deion Sanders. You're seeing it. You're seeing the proof in the pudding. The product on the field speaks for itself at this point in time. That's why the iron's hot on that side. Now, the reason for questions is everybody now is asking, well, what can they do for an encore? Because that's great that you won 9 football games. But can you do it when you don't have one of the best quarterbacks in America and Shedeur Sanders throwing the ball for you? And can you do it without the best player in college football, Travis Hunter, doing it for you on both sides of the situation? Fair question. But my response to that is I think the evolution of Colorado is what's the most intriguing here from a roster standpoint. Because Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and all those guys are going to get a lot of the shine, and they should. It's very well so deserved. But look at the way that Colorado has put together this roster. They're telling you how they feel about their talent internally by nature of how they're not going to the transfer portal. The last 2 cycles, Deion Sanders had to flip this thing quick, fast, and in a hurry. All right, so the first cycle, they go take right around like 4 or 50 guys, I believe it was the first cycle. They take 40 plus this last cycle. 90 transfers in 2 years. We got to get a better talent level on the roster is what Deion Sanders is saying. As we sit here right now recording this, Deion Sanders and Colorado have taken 17 transfers. Very, very stark contrast compared to previous cycles. Why would you take less transfers? Well, you take less transfers when you need less help, when you have less holes to fill. So Deion Sanders is telling you, hey, from a roster standpoint, we are in a better position than we have been the previous 2 cycles. That should be encouraging. Because as you ask questions about Shedeur Sanders and him leaving, you look at the quarterback room. Julian Lewis, high-profile quarterback they flipped from USC, was the crown jewel of their class. And then you also go out and get a Caden Salter from Liberty, who I've said many times is one of my favorite transfer portal quarterbacks of this entire cycle, regardless of where he ended up going. Now he's at Colorado, and I think that was a massive get for Colorado. The reason why we mention both these guys is I think they're going to be good enough to get done what you want to get done out there in Boulder. But in the context of asking about the departure of Shedeur Sanders, I think we're looking at this the wrong way because everyone's asking, hey, can they fill the shoes of a Shedeur Sanders? Y'all, I don't think they need to fill the shoes of a Shedeur Sanders because what we just said a moment ago, Shedeur Sanders was your quarterback going from a 4-win season to a 9-win season. You had to live with Shedeur Sanders throwing the ball for over 300 yards a game. What if you don't anymore? What if you have more of a run game here going into the next season under Deion Sanders, into year 3? The run game only improved from year 1 to year 2. Takes another step in year 3. Maybe Colorado can be even more complimentary. Now, I'm not saying you don't ask your quarterback still to be a dude for you. I think that's always going to be the case when Deion Sanders is running the show. But if you don't need a 300-yard-a-game output, that's less pressure on both those guys, whoever ends up starting. If the defense takes another step, and you can hold teams to even less points a game than they did a season ago, less pressure on the quarterback. So the way that we look at Colorado now, I think it's not an unfair question to ask as to, what are they going to be without a Shedeur Sanders and a Travis Hunter. But I also think that looking at the way that they are approaching their roster building in this upcoming 2025 season, they feel better from what I can gather about the core roster talent they have by nature of them going to the portal a lot less aggressively than the previous 2 cycles. So I think when you look to 2025, a lot of people are going to see the next step as, well, can they win the Big 12 and can they make the college football playoff? And now doing it without a Shedeur and a Travis Hunter is going to be, a tall task in some people's eyes. And I see that. But I would say we need to remind ourselves what conference Colorado plays in. Like the Big 12, God bless them, was the craziest conference in college football last year. And we are a little bit biased on this show because we cover it year-round in terms of the sport. But I think it's the craziest sport in the world. So you got the craziest conference and the craziest sport. What does that mean? Crazy things happen. And I don't think it's even that crazy to assume that Colorado could win the conference in 2025. Now, will we pick them when it comes time to make predictions? I got to see something in the spring game, and I got to see who your quarterback's going to be. But all I'm trying to say here is nothing is off the table. Like Arizona State, as we sit here right now, I believe is going to be a wagon, and I'd probably have to lean that way if I were making a prediction. But again, it's February. Let me get some eyes on Caden Salter and Julian Lewis and who's going to be the quarterback out there. Let me get some eyes on what the line of scrimmage looks like for Colorado next year. Jordan Seaton, another year in the system. Like, yes, it'll be a absolute Hunger Games again in that conference to see who wins it. We were going to tiebreakers, y'all, to figure out who was going to make the Big 12 title game a season ago. And so if you're telling me the roster is better than last year and that the team is continuing to make strides, even with the loss of two of the best players in college football, I don't think it's crazy to assume that Colorado could be right there in the mix when it's time for Selection Sunday. So one more thing I'll say here. People are talking a lot about those two. I mean, we've had a lot of discussion about Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders this video, which I think is warranted. But I would just remind everyone, they made that jump from a 4-win season to a 9-win season with both those guys on the team. So like the 4-win season, they were also there for. Now, did those guys both improve from last year to this past year? Of course. But I think it's important to also give Deion Sanders a lot of credit for the roster in general and the jumps they've made on that side of things, which of course elevated Shedeur, of course elevated Travis, but just make sure we're all aligned. They got better from the 4-win season to the 9-win season at a core roster level. The floor, in my opinion, got higher from that year to the next year. I think it only gets higher going into year 3 under Coach Prime. So hit me with your takes. Let me know what you think about Colorado in 2025. Matter of fact, hit me with a win total that you would expect for Colorado going into next season and what you would define as success for the Buffs. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.